Ready to go? Good evening, ladies. Let me turn this on. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you to the Town of Cedar Lake Plan Commission September 4, 2024 work session. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Becker is absent. Mr. Parker?
I'm here.
Mr. Carnahan?
Here.
Mr. Hunley?
Here.
Ms. Densauer? Present. Mr. Wilkeny?
Here.
Mr. Kapora?
Present.
Mr. Oliphant?
Here.
Mr. Austin?
Present.
Mr. Bundy is absent.
He's online, actually.
He's here.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Kubiak?
Here.
Ms. Hayes is present.
All right, Bob, you got a comment you want to make?
Yeah, I have in front of us here 911. We'll never forget. And Emily Samara donated a flag to us after that happened, and that flag is up there on our wall. And that flag has the names of every person that lost their lives in the Twin Towers and out near the Pentagon in Pennsylvania and that. And the street department put that up there. They framed it, and I just want to look that up. I should have done this last night, but I didn't, and I just want to look it up because we don't have a meeting next Wednesday. But I want us all to remember all those lives that were lost. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, old business, Montessori Woods, 1-year extension of preliminary plat. Owner, New Century Development, 2036 West 81st Avenue, Suite B, Maryville, Indiana, 46410. Petitioner, Olthoff Homes, 8051 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana, 416303, vicinity of 9727 West 129th Avenue, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting a 1-year extension of primary plat for Montessori Woods North. Hi.
All right, good evening. Kevin Pasco, Olthoff Homes, 8051 Wicker Avenue, St. John, Indiana. Here tonight to seek a 1-year extension for our primary plat for Montessori Woods Phase 3. This phase is for 87 units on 80-foot R2 lots and would complete the remaining portion of the Montessori Woods subdivision on the far north side of the project.
Is it 87 or 88?
It was originally 88, but then we added a road stub out to Parrish, so that reduced it by 1 lot.
Okay.
This was initially approved at the September 20, 2023 meeting and was valid for 1 year or until we had a final plat, which would automatically extend the expiration by a year, but unfortunately that did not happen. We hope to begin this project this year, but it was put on hold due to the development moratorium, which itself was caused by water and sewer utility issues. So we understand that the solution to those will take some time to complete or to rectify. So we do intend on completing the project at some point in the future once the moratorium is lifted and the utility issues have been solved. But until that time, we're going to request for an extension on the primary plat just so we can keep that active. So we're going to take any questions or comments.
Yes. On the 87 houses, what kind of houses are going to be in there?
Just traditional single-family detached homes.
Okay, that's very good.
I don't have a problem with the extension.
No.
It's been going on, yeah.
You're going to ask your question now? All right, I'll ask your question since you're not going to ask them. We have a water problem on the west side of the lake.
Right.
And some of our council members and our engineers and our attorney are going to go to Indianapolis and meet with Indiana Department of Environmental Management. Jim was asking me earlier, what happens if we don't get any water? And then I went to Don, and Don, you want to make your comments that you made to me?
Not really.
No?
I don't have any answers to that right now. I mean, the crux of that letter that came out was based on stuff before we had any involvement in the water utility. You're asking the wrong person. Right now, no.
We're gonna try to get it resolved is all that we can say. Solutions and resolutions at some point. Don't know when. No more after the meeting in Indy.
Dave, you want to comment on it?
Potentially happens this month.
Yeah, we need to have our engineers with us and visit with the IDEM folks. They want to meet with us as much as we want to meet with them. And I know your company's aware of all that, so. The request made the proper request and should be made.
And I wish they would come up here and meet with us instead of us having to go down there.
We're gonna go down there, we're gonna talk to them, we're gonna see what they require, see if we can come up with some sort of, no more next month.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we understand. As Dave mentioned, we've been monitoring the situation, so we understand.
Okay, no other questions, we'll see you next 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Number 2, Bankside Barn Grill preliminary plat. Oh, got an army coming up.
That's usually not good.
Owner, Joe Lopez, 3205 Lemondire Road, Lemmon, Illinois, 60411. Petitioner, Adam McAlpine, 398 East 400 North Valparaiso, Indiana, 46383. Vicinity of 8120 Lakeshore Drive, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioners presenting preliminary plat for bar, restaurant renovation projects to include new parking lot, perimeter, sidewalk, storm sewer system, and landscaping. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Joe Lopez, 3285 Linwood Road, Linwood, Illinois.
Adam McAlpine, 398 East, 400 North, Valparaiso, Indiana.
Sword and Sword Law, GC 337 West 806 North Valparaiso, Indiana.
Okay, what's the newest?
All right, so since we last spoke, Don Oliphant has provided us with the review letter, and on our team, we're working through those comments and looking to get revised plans to you, to the town, for continued review. In particular tonight, I don't know that we're going to be in a position to vote on this in 2 weeks. It's going to take us some time to work through these review comments, so I just want to let you know that now. But I would like to bring up the sidewalk on Foster Street and request a design waiver from your standards to not put in a sidewalk along Foster Street and only limit the sidewalk work along Lakeshore Drive. So that is what I would like to request for your consideration comment this evening.
Why would you want to eliminate that?
Well, a handful of reasons. A number of utility conflicts exist along Foster Street, pole, guy wires, another pole, and a telephone pedestal. It's a neighborhood that adjoins it. It doesn't have sidewalks, so it doesn't really connect to any sidewalked neighborhood. But Lakeshore Drive, on the other hand, having the sidewalk and the integral curb and gutter does serve a good functional purpose. Maybe not for pedestrians, but certainly for motorists, because it directs them to Foster Street, which is the entrance, and not off of Lakeshore Drive, which used to be the entrance for this bar. So that's the reason. What we would like to propose is that the right-of-way be dedicated to the town as it's shown on the plat, but a sidewalk not be constructed. And the only reason for that is it is such a tight site, and this number of sidewalks, if we were to slide the sidewalk further east into the site to eliminate or not, to not be in conflict with those items, to create a grass parkway, which is pinch the site even further. And so just want to get your thoughts and hopefully your approval, and if not, then we'll just proceed as we had before.
Don, we had a community block grant program that we did a number of years ago, and we put an underground storm drainage unit in over there. Do you know where that's at?
All the improvements done over there weren't part of CDBG, they were part of your capital improvement plan.
Well, we did a CDBG for...
I-Grove.
Yeah, but
Not
it,
okay.
it extended, and we had, I thought, a catch basin or an underground, storage unit for stormwater underneath there, close to their property.
There's something they got
No,
upgraded
there's a
in there, I can't
large-
remember what it, you remember, Tim?
Yeah, it's right in the middle of Foster there.
That's right
I
in
don't
the
know if
middle.
it's was for detention, I just think it's conveyance. It's
Yeah,
a very
there's a
large
big- I mean-
CMP that goes
You're
to
right,
the north
yeah,
property.
there was an old pipe that
It's
was
abandoned
destroyed.
at all purposes. It got abandoned when we did the Oak Shades project in 2011. So there's actually a new storm sewer that goes down Foster, comes into Lakeshore Drive, and then heads east, and then outlets on the east side of Waterjet's condos.
Yeah.
So that pipe is still in there, but for all intents and purposes, it's disconnected. It's connected on the downstream end, but it's disconnected where it used to be connected, heading up into Oak Shades.
Yeah.
That used to drain all Oak Shades.
But it's right in the middle of, that big manhole's right in the middle of Foster,
Yeah,
and just
so-
this way of where it heads up.
They're aware of it, it's on their existing survey, so they're actually proposing underground detention south of it, kind of just west of the current buildings, kind of in this general vicinity.
How many feet of sidewalk are you asking to be waived?
If you look at that west property line,
How many feet?
About 140 feet.
140 feet?
If I may, excuse me for a second.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time understanding why we're talking about waivers when we've got an 8-page report from our engineer here. So, for me, it'd be a tough conversation. This has been 3 years, 2 years, how long has it been?
Couple years. Yeah, at least.
I think we have a lot more important things to talk about right now than a waiver. This is 8 pages. So what's our time frame on that?
we're hoping 2 weeks. I'll be coming back to you in 1 month to this work session. And at that time, Don and I will have had an opportunity to go back and forth with another round of reviews.
Do you have a lot of stuff, Don, on your letter?
There's 8 pages.
8 pages? Wow.
Some of it's addressed, and a lot of it's partially addressed.
And a few things not addressed.
A lot of things not addressed.
Well, it's a challenging site, and you need every square inch of parking that you can get there because it's limited.
And this conversation is important because it will help me know what would be acceptable to the town. Because if you say, no, absolutely, we need a sidewalk, well, then I'll design a sidewalk, and then we'll either move the utilities at whatever cost, or we'll try to avoid them, which will pitch the site. So,
Well, my thought is, even if you put the sidewalk in, people are gonna be parking on it. We can't keep the parking in bugaboos right now.
this picture's pretty telling. Imagine a sidewalk that would be on the west side of that property line, which is mostly asphalt today. And there's that little sliver of grass. So pretty much, previously, anybody could get into this property from any imaginable direction it seems. What we're proposing to do is clean this up quite a bit to direct it. So we will create a grassy strip along here where there's pavement today with a proposed entrance right off of Foster Street. But I think my point is, if you pan north, you see, and you all live familiar with this neighborhood, there are no sidewalks anywhere around there. So it really doesn't benefit, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, for me, that's less of an issue, because we're trying to get the sidewalks constructed as we go. Does it fit this site? Probably not. To address Heather's concerns, though, she wants something done with this site, so in her frustration that I hear in her voice, she wants to work through the engineering comments, not be so worried about the sidewalk, and see what we can do about getting this thing moving forward, so it's not continued to be an eyesore. Am I right?
Exactly.
That sidewalk is one of the engineering items that needs to be worked through.
Well, sir, why wasn't this brought up a year ago?
I'm here right now talking to you about this design waiver request.
The grass is pinching everything. I'd rather see the grass gone than the sidewalk. You can work the sidewalk around the utilities without getting crazy. I understand your concern.
Well, Don would have to be okay with that, too.
Well, it kind of came up because during the review, there's two kind of utility poles right there on that corner. We questioned why the Foster sidewalk was 8.5 feet wide. That was, for some reason, maintaining the poles in the existing location, which we would not allow. So that's how that got set out. And then Adam had brought the waiver to me, I said that's not my fault. So, I mean, utility relocation is on the developer's property. So if you want to see it, they're going to have to move it.
I get it, I just don't know that it's worthwhile. In my view, and everybody sitting here probably has seen some of the other issues we have in town, that sidewalk's there, it's gonna be part of the parking lot. Bank on it. That makes sense.
I mean, it will be elevated, so it'll be on top of the back of the curb. So you can't park on it from the street side. That nook southwest of the building really doesn't have any parking per se. It's for their smaller vehicle parking, which doesn't count towards their parking allotment. They're kind of golf cart, motorcycle parking. So they're not supposed to be over there anyways. And then you get to the entrance, and then there's nothing. So, to be honest with you, as part of the view too, I think we lost 2 spaces too, because where the existing well's located. That was in the proposed handicap parking area. You can't park over it because there's bollards around it, so we lost 2 spots.
1 regular space and 1 handicap space.
Yeah,
We're planning to build a new well on the property.
but that's gonna take time as well.
Yeah, but it'll be south of the bar and the proposed landscape area, close to the existing wellhead. But in that case, when we show the 50-foot radius around it, it'll predominantly be on this property, in your vicinity to the existing well and overhang Lakeshore Drive instead of the surrounding neighbors. It seemed like less.
Might want to check those regulations if you can have that overlapping into a public right of way. It's kind of weird.
I will. We'll do that.
What's the list of variances?
Off the top of my head.
That's fine, top of your head, fine.
Let's see here, it'd be parking in the front yard. It would be building, pretty much every building setback on the property.
We're keeping the same footprint though, right?
Yes,
They have to.
so that would essentially be, it's legal non-conforming now, they're not changing the footprint, so however you want to do that, I guess they're asking.
Somebody asked, they just didn't.
There might be some building square footage issues.
Is there still a parking space variance on here?
Well, that's what we gotta see with the revised well. Yeah, well, yeah, overall, they're not gonna meet it, right? Or,
Oh, the variance? No, it will not meet the parking
So-
standards say you need a space per employee and a space per patron, right?
so yes, it is restricted based on their, basically, tenant maximum occupancy.
I thought we had that worked out before we
We did, and I think even police chiefs and fire chiefs have reviewed it. I mean, there's a method of how do you potentially enforce them being over occupancy if the building supports more patrons. That's a fear.
Well, there's been a lot of publicity on some of these other issues, so I wouldn't, once you get that thing open, I wouldn't be pushing your parking limitations, because that is gonna be an issue. But looking into the future, I can see that there's gonna be some parking issues over there.
Right. There's some other things that we're working on. I am speaking to one of the neighbors right now. I got a meeting with them in the future. There's still the things in the future about maybe buying one of the houses. And that's later on down the line. But I am in talks with a couple people.
That's the right thing to do.
Yeah, so I'm looking for a future, but we're looking to get things in motion. And then we can definitely work on the future.
Well, I mean, I think everybody here wants the place fixed, repaired, functional,
Open.
open.
Heather, we're at the end, safe building, weren't we asking them like to get the sign down or something, and we're,
To clean up the outside, I know you mentioned you were gonna do some paint and,
Yes, I had a couple of jobs I had to close up, and then I'm gonna bring, me and my guys are gonna come over here. I just wanna bring the right equipment and everything over here when we get going. I don't wanna come here and do a little bit, I wanna make sure when we come, we can come here and stay here and get stuff done. You know, I just got a couple of jobs open that I have to finish up. But I'm gonna start, I was hoping next week or the week after. I'm really gonna try to push for next week. But I did come over there. There was a dead tree that was on the property. I removed that for the neighbor. It was overhanging their shed and their pool. And we got that removed for them. We cleaned up some other stuff for them. And that's just, we're really hoping for next week, but I had a couple of jobs I had to close up.
and I've told you, I appreciate you come to the meetings, you're very transparent, I appreciate all that, clearly you're working on this. I just feel like we're spinning wheels at this point. I feel like we talked last at the unpaid meeting, and you were hoping, I don't think you guys have gotten back this report yet, but you were hoping that we were gonna be able to approve this by this month.
Yes.
And here, I sent this report, and to me, it looks very discouraging. I wish it looked better, and it doesn't, what's our time frame here? I mean, this isn't, obviously, this isn't 2 weeks. Are we talking 6 weeks? Are we talking?
I have no idea. I'll
That's very
revise the
discouraging.
comments, and I'll get them back to John Oliphant, and we'll see what other comments he has for us.
Just, can we get I'm okay with the sidewalk on Foster not being done and the sidewalk on Lake Shore Drive getting done. Is anybody else okay with that?
I have a question. Stuart Allen's report, page 2, it says the 5-foot utility easement northwesterly of the new dedicated Lake Shore Drive includes the utility pole and the overhead lines. You're telling me that's also where the sidewalk has to go.
I'm not sure what you're describing. Are you talking about?
I'm talking about Stuart Allen's comments here in green. It's talking about the 5-foot utility easement that runs along Lake Shore Drive, and it's including the light pole, I believe it says, and the overhead lines. The revised engineering plan will show the easements and solidify this statement. You keep talking about the grassy knoll there, if I might use that phrase, being where the utility poles are. You want a waiver of the sidewalk, but where was the sidewalk going to go? In the poles or in the easement, or what was your plan?
On Foster Street?
Yes.
It was going to go, just beyond the right-of-way, just beyond that yellow line that you see there.
Well, what I need to see before I vote to waive a sidewalk
Yes.
would be exactly the problem right there.
Jerry, that's what I was saying before, the plans they submitted, and that's why we made a comment, is that the pole was in the middle of the sidewalk.
Okay,
So that's why it went out to 8.5 feet, because it was 2 feet into it, they needed 6 foot, so they just made it all concrete.
That's why Adam's trying to get that out of the equation right now tonight, that there's a significant amount of the comments.
It's more than a pole. You know, Don, it's one pole. It's a guy wire. It's a telephone pole. And it's another pole, all along Foster Street. And if you don't require a sidewalk, all of those conflicts can be avoided.
Yeah, and where does it, if it moves, where's it go, underground? It's gotta go somewhere.
They'll likely keep it above ground and move it probably further into the site, is my guess.
That don't even make no sense.
They won't bury it, because there's probably other stuff on there that's not just NIPSCO, it's probably Comcast.
They won't bury that.
No, they will bury it if you pay a whole bunch of money.
So to move them poles 3 or 4 feet to get the sidewalk in there, and they're still gonna be overhead and unsightly, they're still there and they're still in the way for something.
I think that's what Stuart's response to our comment was, that it's dictated on what the engineering plan ends up being. Because if they shift the poles in, then you're gonna have to have another utility easement further into the project, into the plat, so it's all kind of changing.
This thing existed for 80 years, and I'm not saying it needs to go back to what it was, but you're only gonna get so much in there for a modern standard, and that just, to me, makes absolutely no sense. It's a hurdle they shouldn't have to overcome, and it keeps us from getting ultimately out of what we want here. So,
I don't care about the sidewalk, to be honest. I agree with you, it's gonna get driven on. I don't think it's necessary right there as part of the parking lot. The sidewalk isn't my problem.
when we get that out of the equation, then they can start working on the other issues.
I'm gonna stop talking.
Well, Heather, to piggyback on your concern, this is probably to both Adams. Has there been a BZA application formulated about what variances you do need? Did you communicate with town staff to figure out what those exactly are?
So this is kind of like catch-22. You gotta have a benchmark to start from, and having that sidewalk for parking, what we originally proposed, eliminating that issue over there, which addressed the parking issue and eliminating the sidewalk, creating a solution was something that we didn't want to do as a planning commission, so we went back to square one, starting over, and now we're looking at the sidewalk issue, and now that doesn't make any sense.
Well, sidewalks would be this body waiver, it'd be an engineering waiver more than a BZA variance. But I think any kind of approvals have to be dependent on BZA approving your variance.
And originally, we started as PUD because, again, for this district, for them to serve alcohol, they have to have a variance for that. So that's another variance they're gonna need because of line zoning. So that's why I originally did PUD, because of all the constraints, all the issues, and we're gonna come in and show you what we would like to do that. And then once we got to the parking issue, driving the metrics for occupancy, and there wasn't gonna be any concessions on the size and dimensions of the parking spaces, and we withdrew the PUD, and we'll just go and submit the variances, because there's no point doing PUDs. And then we get back into catch-22 with sidewalk and spacing and number of spaces. But the number of parking spots they get there per the town code is what's driving the occupancy. So we've already agreed to that, whether it's 10 spaces, 15 spaces, doesn't matter. That's what we've agreed to, and that's what we're proposing. Even though we're not counting the other parking spaces for patrons that can come in on a golf cart, motorcycle, or walk.
I mean, I think you're further along on the engineering plan where it's not gonna change a lot to know what your actual variances are gonna be needed.
Yeah,
But I think that process has to start.
But from what I've seen over the course of 2 years, and ideas for here, I mean, we have to start based on the west side of that site, because everything's happening. You got ingress, egress, everything's coming in that site, that drives the whole design, because we're closing off everything along Lakeshore Drive. So the benchmark is, you gotta figure out what you're doing on Foster, or he's gonna just perpetually be dealing with other engineering comments. So we gotta get that pinned down, that's the request for the waiver, and then he can carry through and handle a lot of the other comments, which a lot of it, I think, is just details, demarcations, and the only other thing that I saw in there that might be another waiver is the pinch point at the back northeast corner of the building for the two-way traffic. That was it. Other than that, I think he covered it all. So, I just drove through there tonight in my F-250 that has a horrible turning radius, and I make it through there okay. There's enough room to turn around.
The sidewalk, if you had to put it in, is not gonna affect the parking spaces, correct?
Correct.
It's
So,
utility poles.
so it's all about the poles and the sidewalk?
Yep.
Correct. We're all in agreement pretty much that you don't have to put that sidewalk in, we'll give you a waiver on it. We're more concerned about getting the project done.
Yeah.
You're saying, oh, now we gotta start at the west side to develop this site. We've had, how many plans? And you're just starting now to develop
That's
it?
not what I'm saying. I'm on the level of detail that Don is giving you comments on is being driven by what we do at certain points of the site. And so having that sidewalk thing figured out from top grade, bottom grade curves, and how that drives everything else that goes in there, if that's an engineering issue, that impacts all the rest of our other comments, especially on utilities.
Well, my comment here is that I think we can safely say we're gonna waiver the sidewalk on Foster, okay? I think that we cannot go any further unless we have updated site plan with everything that's gonna be done, and, so we have something here, but it's not what we're gonna vote on. So we need something to see to vote on. We've told you 1,000 times what we want. So you know. So take care of Don's letter, update site plan for us, and come back to a work session, whether that be next month, 2 months, 3 months, but we need to get this off of our table.
I'd like to see you get it under roof at least this year, if that's possible.
And your plans are to have kind of a flat roof with seating up above, which you may not be able to occupy right away.
No, in the future, that would be great, you know.
I don't even want to consider patio up on that roof, that tall. If he wants to put a flat roof on it, God bless him. He can make a green space. Grow plants, grow corn, do something, go down and give the corn lady competition. We're not gonna talk about anything going up on top there other than green space.
What is the total parking spots you have now?
Well, including the adjustment that we're gonna make on that well, is that pick those 2 spaces back up.
Oh, yeah, we're not going to lose those 2 spaces. We want to make
We're at 15, we have 15 right now.
15.
I think that's the thing.
Per code, 15, there's extra, for quantity purposes, right?
You're gonna have 15 parking spots? I thought we had 23 over there.
what we did, under the, put the parking lot Foster and looking at other options, as part of that whole plan of making that whole pedestrian design, and we were told not to do this. So we went back to taking in and out and parking all interior to site.
Nice thing. Because of how the building's laid out and how everything's kind of turned, if we did have access off Lake Shore, it would give us more parking, because it gives us different dimensions, but because of us having the entrance and exit off of Foster, that takes away our parking spots, because of how you can come in and different, how the building's laid out. It's like, you know, it's just it's awkward.
Well, and you said you're probably gonna have three staff members there, so, 15 spaces are down to 12,
We would have.
so that gives you 6 tables.
Deliver a lot of food.
Yeah, you gotta do something to bust a nut with just 6 tables.
We will.
What if 4 people come in one car?
Then they'll have to sit in the car until the others are done.
Are you picking us up?
Hey, I hope they over too.
Well, you know what we need. Let's get it done, let's get this thing going.
But I do have a meeting coming up with one of the neighbors. I'm in contact with all the other neighbors. They call me on a regular basis. We got a good relationship with everybody, so everything, and he seems pretty promising, and so we're in the talk, so I just don't want, until something's finalized, you know, I don't
No, we don't mind updates, and I agree with Mr. Parker, let's get it weathered in.
Yes, I agree. I did get the permit, and I was gonna ask you guys' thoughts on this. If I can get a telehandler out there or a crane out there, I'd like to lift those trusses out there. I'd like to, you know, because you got a big old hole in that roof from that fire, I'd like to get all that out there, but is that okay with you guys? 'Cause I am gonna start removing the porch area, the signs, all that extra stuff, and I am gonna put some prime on the exterior, that way it don't look like an ugly green building. It's gotta be primed eventually anyway. It's the process we're gonna have to do, so I was hoping to get a telehandler out there or a crane out there and start removing the trusses.
The only thing I can,
I'm sorry, we approved you for a demo permit, correct?
Yeah, it's a demo cleanup, but I just wanna make sure that I'm not overstepping my bounds.
Well, I'd like to ask him that question.
Where'd he go?
yeah, that's fine. I mean, demo permits, you gotta get ready for what you gotta do to make it right,
It
so
sounds
that's
fine with me.
Yeah.
Cool, that way I can get the right equipment out there.
If there's any-
I don't wanna overstep my boundaries, you guys say, what's the...
Yeah,
And if there's-
no, I just wanted to remember, because I thought we gave you a demo permit.
Yes.
So as
Yeah,
long
the
as
demo
everything's
just means
fine-
you can't put new stuff back until you get that straightened out, but you can take apart whatever you need to do to get to where you need to go.
Sounds great.
That'd be
That way-
wonderful.
And if there's any potential snags, get a hold of Tim. He can point you in the right direction.
Like I said, I just wanna make sure I got the right, guys out there, the right equipment. And if I got the plan now you guys give me more, now I know what I have to. So you guys will see, I'll be out there myself.
And then I'll see you in 2 weeks, right? You're back in
Yes, I'll be at all the meetings here on out.
Work through the rest of those engineering comments, let's get it going. Work through the rest of those engineering comments, let's get it going.
A lot of them get solved.
I hardly hear anything.
I just wanted to say we'll be here at the next work session next month.
If
And
you've got-
there will not be a sidewalk on Foster Street.
Yeah, if you got something to present to us, I mean, if you're just gonna come here and we're gonna hash this out again, no.
No.
But bring us something that we can,
You got it.
Well, and an updated letter, right? So, from
Right.
Ron.
Yeah, within that time, there'll be enough time for me to revise the plans, and I would assume for Ron.
yeah, okay, you got a month, okay.
And Don, when do you need those back by to respond before our meeting?
A week before the Friday deadline, at least.
A week before the Friday, before.
So I guess it's 3 weeks.
I will be absent, I believe, the next work session. I will,
Who approved that?
I did. Going racing.
Give me your flag.
All
All right, Judge, all set then? All right, thank you.
I guess have a good evening, thank you.
Number 3, store safe, final plat. Make the legal lot of record preliminary previously approved, site plan approval. Owner petitioner, Store Safe of Cedar Lake LLC, 5301 Dempster Street, Suite 300, Skokie, Illinois, 677, vicinity 13649 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner is requesting site plan approval with developmental commitment contract and final plat approval. Hi.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Honorable Chair, Planning Commission members, thank you for hearing us once again. My name is Jim Sag. I am a principal and the Chief Development Officer at StoreSafe. I'm hopeful to be very respectful of the public's time tonight since we've spent a good amount of it already. I want to bring to your attention that our attorney, Dave Westland, who is of counsel to Munster as well as other communities. I asked Mr. Westland, can you please make red lines to the development commitment that are responsive to what we had heard from Plan Commission at the last meeting, and I want to summarize those three changes for you. First of all, the paragraph enumerated number 3, there are 2 of the 3 changes. Number 1, the expiration date of the parking has been revised from 2039 to 2034. So the concept of parking rights expiring in 10 years rather than 15 was respected.
If I just enter this for one quick second, is that in our packet, do you know? I just want to look at it while he's talking. It's not on the website.
Okay, this was emailed to you, Mr. Austin, on August 26th. If not, there's 3 simple changes.
Yeah, I think the original is in your packet.
There's a bit more explanation needed here.
Page 24.
Attorney Westland did send me a revised commitment form, and I have it, and I have been reviewing it, and tomorrow I will send comments. I ran out of red ink, Jerry.
I'm not believing that.
I did.
Okay.
I will have to their attorney tomorrow or Friday morning.
Well, this is a good work session because it's an update.
If it pleases the Plan Commission, there are 3 simple changes that will not be a challenge for you to recall our discussion last time.
Parking's 10 years instead of 15.
10 instead of 15. The second thing is, I said, Dave, what would you do if you were enforcing this in Munster? He said, the simplest thing I would do is assign a fine for every day that a violation was occurring. So every day past December 31st, 2034, there has been a fine added of $100 per day for the violation. That obviously is for Mr. Austin to review and comment on, and for the commission to decide, if that's punitive enough. Obviously, like I said in the last meeting.
Last time you were here, you said you didn't care if it was 10,000.
Do your worst. I don't care, but this at least gets the ball rolling because
Put a couple
I
more
need.
zeros after that, huh?
Yeah, I need to get this thing.
Give me the red pen.
I need to get this thing going, right?
12/31/2034, I just want to make a comment here. Bob's probably the only one that's still going to be here.
Never know.
I might not be either, so, that's fine. And the third change, which is fairly de minimis, was the concept of if a residential development gets approved and executed on the property along the subject property's northern boundary, then we will be required to make the fence opaque. So those are the 3 pieces of feedback we took from the last workshop. We incorporated them in the development commitment, and I will only close my opening comments by saying, I just want to make sure that you all have what you need to be able to vote on this up or down at the next meeting. If there's anything else you need from me this evening
I
or
think I
otherwise.
missed something. You said there was 3.
Yeah,
I wrote down 2. What's the third?
change the date
Okay.
of fine, adding the concept of a fine for every day past
Okay, so
that
that's
date.
part of it.
And lastly, this concept of making the fence opaque if a residential development gets approved.
Okay.
And I'm sure, Mr. Austin and the commission may have some tweaks to those concepts, but, that's fine. I just want to make sure that in form and substance, We have what we need that, you know, 2 weeks from now, I have given you everything you need
This
to be able to
thing got
vote.
my blood pressure up the last meeting, and I didn't get the answers that I wanted. One of the hangups that I had some discussions with some other folks about since then was the NOI that you have to present to IDEM for the water because of our current situation with the water. Dave, I meant to ask you this question, and I'm not, I know I didn't ask it, but depending what, and I want to ask this question when we go down to Indianapolis, when we have the meeting with IDEM on this particular item. He's on a well already. He operates on a well. He doesn't need much water. I don't know, I'm sure that, I'm positive, and I agree that he has to do an NOI for this site, whether he uses the water or not. But in this instance, I want to ask IDEM if he's not adding and he's going to run that water line for us, does he still have to be forced to connect to the water because of that?
Don't know the answer to that.
I don't know, and I want the answer,
You'll get Indy.
He's not. You can't force anybody to hook up to it. I mean, we have water main going on Morse now. We can't force people on 138 that have access to it to hook up to it.
Well,
Their choice.
Choice.
that's what I was unclear about.
Yeah, I mean,
If that's the way we design.
my
it.
understanding that they're gonna get rid of the office and not even need water, period.
So the NOI might be, I mean, you still have to do it, correct?
Yes.
Well, if I may, I'll turn it over to you. I think where we left off last time is like, we obviously with our petition can't solve this issue. In the process of building permit, not an entitlement, you know, we will sort out what bonding we need. You know, Don and Jack will work together, and that will probably be a matter of, you know.
I guess what I'm trying to decide, you might be missing my point, is if you're inside or outside anything that IDEM might say, you know, we can't issue approval for something like that. I don't know. If we've been in this situation before, I don't remember it.
Sure, so it's my understanding that water main NOIs or permits, notice of intent is one mechanism and a permit is another mechanism that IDEM uses. Those are for water main extensions. It's not services, it's just water main extension.
You technically extended a water line.
Exactly, so we're, as part of this project, we were originally gonna connect, at Osborne and run through the project and get you some water on frontage on Wicker Avenue, and that was actually not part of this site plan, but it was a part of the primary plat, the subdivision. It was included, you know, because it's an infrastructure that's going in on this project, but it's a public infrastructure, so that's why it needs a permit.
Okay.
We've been asked to, instead of to do that, put that along Wicker and to put it in the public right-of-way of Wicker, because the parcels that lie to the south are unincorporated, and we're working with NDOT regarding that. So that whole process of permitting is actually a function of the primary plat process, not part of the site development. This site does have a well. It has a single restroom facility, which I believe Jim is intending to actually remove. Because all of this whole online, the whole business is online. Access control is online, renting, there's no need for anybody to be staffed at this site. And so that facility is actually probably going to be removed. So we won't need a future water service, we won't need an existing water service.
The next question is going to be, when the water line goes in, there'll be a fire hydrant there.
Yeah, fire protection, that type of thing, yeah, that will be there. And that's the reason I perceive that's one of the reasons for the request from the town regarding the subdivision is to extend water main along Wicker Avenue. It does get you further north with your water connection, but it also does provide fire protection services to the site. There is also a fire hydrant at the end of Osborne, which provides
fire protection to the back portion of the site.
Okay. I think I have a better understanding. If it fits into me being able to go on that trip, then there's just questions I want to
Yeah,
ask.
and as it relates to that public improvement, similar to any other type of subdivision that you've approved in town, there's a letter of credit that assures performance. We'll likely see a petition in the next 5 years to rezone that to a business use, and then there'll be a site plan or whatever to do that. So that's why, and because it's woods and there's nothing there, we're requesting that if it ever does actually become an actual residential use, we will be required to put the screening there because we would have had to do that at this stage. But if it changed to business zone use, we would not be required to do that fence, and so we want to wait until that use actually occurs.
Makes sense. My second question and point was, in an effort to not waste anyone's time, I'm going to look at you, Mr. Austin, and we've not seen the red marks, and you're saying you're running out of red ink, which is not a good sign for you to say. Are you going to be ready in 2 weeks for us to vote on this?
Probably.
Probably. Will we have that to review before then?
You'll have it next 2 days.
Well, it's your version, but then he still has to come back to it, correct?
My version is gonna be a lot closer than theirs. I'm confident of that.
Jim, your three comments, I think, are gonna require minimal tweaking.
No problem. I would just ask that, please, I try to be extremely respectful of the process of the town. Please respect our time a little bit, get it back to us. I'd really like to have a productive meeting, and I'd really like to try and break ground on this thing before winter is upon us. I have spec'd plans, even though it's not approved. I expect a lot of the civil engineering to be done, and so in other words, we have taken the risk and advanced the ball on those things to try and break ground. So hopefully you appreciate that. I've always been confident we'd find a good solution here, and hopefully we can just get that red line in a position for us to look at it, and y'all to look at it, and have a very productive meeting in 2 weeks.
Sounds good. Any other comments?
Your first one will be phase 1 that you'll work on, then phase 2, then 3, 4, 5, and then 6 would be the last one, and you plan to have 6 done before 2034.
That would be an awesome thing, because it would mean this site was really successful. If not, if we don't make it to 6, I can assure you one thing, there won't be a single truck parked there unless we're paved and illuminated. As simple as that.
Sounds fine. All right, sounds good.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. Number 4, Neil Popline, primary plat. Order petition, Neil Popline, 9204 West 143rd Avenue, Cedar Lake. Vicinity, 9212 West 143rd Place, Cedar Lake. Petitioner is requesting a one-lot subdivision. Hi, Jack.
Hello, Jack Halls from DVG, representing the petitioner, Neil. Neil is in the room, if you have any questions specifically for him. This is a pretty basic one-lot subdivision. It's in meets and bounds parcel now, and your ordinance requires that we go through a subdivision process. We were here a month ago, because your process is a 3-step concept, primary, final. So you'll see us next month regarding this petition as well. Primary plat was submitted for consideration. We also have a sanitary sewer pertinent easement on that to get sanitary sewer service up to the north, the road that's a little bit north of us. We're familiar with the adjacent property owner, engaged them, and we were getting that easement in place, got those documents in the works. And we talked about this at work study, that the town would also like to have certain rights to that easement as well. And basically just asking for the typical one-lot subdivision waivers and would like to be heard at your upcoming Plan Commission meeting for a public
This is
hearing.
just simply giving this a legal lot.
Yep, legal lot of record, it's gonna be lot one in the subdivision. So,
I don't have any issues with that.
yeah, it basically allows him to pull a building permit.
And the sewer easement's underway?
Yep, Neil and the guy next door are actually friends, so it's not gonna be an issue. That neighbor's sanitary sewers lateral runs in similar alignment, so it'll work. This is in an area of town that there's no water, so we don't have to deal with the water concerns you have. There'll be a well on this site, so.
Okay. On this site
Don, you
plan,
got anything?
No, we received the documents in your packet yesterday, so we'll be looking at it over the next week. But generally, they're all pretty similar.
You got an issue?
yeah, I just had a question. On your site plan, you show the house all the way at the back of the property?
No, that's
Like on
an
that-
existing shed that's there, it was just a topo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
I was like, why
so-
the heck is
yeah,
it
no,
all the way in the
that's-
30-foot building? I couldn't get it, but okay.
We're actually gonna bring it over.
It makes sense when I was looking
He
at
likes
it
to
just on the
plow snow.
picture, and I was like,
Yeah,
what are you
no,
doing?
I had to
No, that
zoom
would
in and
be-
look at that myself.
Yeah, I just looked at the picture, and I was like, what the heck?
Don't think that meets the requirements.
Yeah, that was pushing some limits there, that picture, so.
Yeah, that's like way in the back, maybe a little closer to
Makes sense,
the building
yeah.
setback line, yeah.
That's all I am, I'm just curious.
Well, if there's no other questions, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good, appreciate that.
Okay, Jack.
You the next one too?
New business, Plumbing Inc., site plan, owner petitioner, V&L Plumbing Inc., 9621 North Industrial Drive, St. John, Indiana, 46373. Cindy of 13791 Alexander Street, Railside, Lot 23, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner is requesting site plan for a new business in Railside, Lot 23. And second part of this? No. Okay.
Yeah, Jack Holmes from DVG representing the petitioner. B&M Plumbing, Lewis is in the room back here, and Haley, who's from my office as well. She's been pretty involved in developing these engineering plans. We did get a review from, letter from Don. He did get a response to that letter today. We feel that we should be in order. The comments were pretty minor.
Is she gonna replace you someday?
What was that?
Is she gonna replace you someday?
I'm hoping, actually, I don't want to do this forever. I really appreciate her, actually, so. Yeah, so we're looking forward to your review comments on this and your feedback at this meeting. It's pretty basic. It's a FBI building, I believe, on the site. It's a plumbing business, so you're gonna have your typical traffic that would be a result of that. Service guys coming in the morning, leaving their cars and taking a truck out, maybe, I don't know. Does guys drive their own trucks, or do they have company trucks that they pick up and you can come up if you want?
So we have a few plumbers that do take the trucks home, about half the trucks stay there. And, so we have maybe 6 cars that get left during the day when the trucks are out on the road. And 80% of our business is all new construction, so guys are going to the jobs with bean boxes, so we don't really have a lot of traffic. Sometimes we'll have some deliveries in the morning, and we have 3 people in the office besides myself, so we're still a growing business. We've been in business 60 years, but we're in a 7,000 square foot building right now in St. John. We're kind of outgrowing it, so I've always wanted to move down here, and I've got my roots down here, so I've been really trying to did a lot of work down here. I did the police station and fire station. And this building is just so we can spread our wings, and we're kind of on top of each other where we're at. And we want to grow the business, and to do that, I need more room. So I'm hoping to start fresh with a new building.
Sounds good.
Jack, does this meet all of our requirements over there?
Yep, it was a PUD, so it fits right into that zoning. We meet the setbacks, we meet the parking requirements that are required there. All that's kind of in the plans. We've done the photometric plan, landscape plan, so we feel we're in good shape for 2 weeks. I know Lewis has also got the state design release for this building, so this is not something that's going to be, you know, a concept. Are we going to start it? He'd like to start tomorrow. But I'm telling him, we gotta wait till we get through this process, and then, you know, he'll come in and pull a building permit, so.
Don, you have any issues?
We got our comments, like Jack said, you resubmitted today. These are generally pretty easy since a lot of or most of the site infrastructure is already in. So I think we can get through these. A lot of the comments were minor. I think what we got him initially was some lighting comments that we sent out today. So we'll work through them. We should be okay.
I'm happy to welcome another business in Cedar Lake.
There's a building back there already, where does this relate to that building that's back there?
What was that?
There's a building back there in the back of that railroad thing. Where is this?
3 lots south.
Okay, so, Commonwealth Electric, I believe, is on lot 21, which would be on the north side of the pond.
Right? Yeah.
And then, lot 23 is on the south side of the pond, I think 1 lot down, right?
It's this one.
Yeah, about 8 lots. Yeah, so you're about in the middle. You can kind of see it there.
It's this one, right? Yeah. Dark blue.
That's actually the light blue at the top there is where the Commonwealth Electric building is at. And, you know, we've got several petitions that we turned in, so you're gonna start to see this in bill.
Gas them up and shoot them out.
Yeah. You guys, right?
Good for all of us.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Great, we will see you in 2 weeks.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 2, request of waiver, Oak Brook Phase 1 and Beacon Point Unit 5 West, Cedar Lake, owner Cedar Lake 133 LLC, PO Box 677, St. John, Indiana 46373. Petitioner Schilling Development, PO Box 677, St. John, Indiana 46373. Vicinity Oak Brook Phase 1 and Beacon Point Unit 5 West. Representative Jeff Halls, DBG. Petitioner is requesting a waiver from the developmental standard to place surface asphalt before 80% occupancy has been reached in both Oak Brook Phase 1 and Beacon Point Unit 5 West.
Jack Halls from DVG. I'm wondering if we could maybe, at least for the point of conversation, divide these two things, because it'll make it a little bit easier for us. So Oak Brook Phase 1, we'll do that first, so that's your first thing. So this is an aerial that was taken today of that site. All of the lots have a building started on them. And as you can see, all but the corner lot there has all the driveways. Most of them have landscaping installed. There's a few on this side that need to get some landscaping done, but the driveways are in, which basically means all of the heavy stuff inside is all in already, drywall's in, you know, that kind of stuff, because they're not going to put the driveway in until all that's done. So your ordinance technically says that it's 80% of certificate of occupancy. So we've got about 30 to 45 days to finish these units out, which puts us into middle of October, beginning of November, before we likely get the CO to get up to that 80%. But as you can see, we far exceed 80% with the rough treatment of the pavement.
So you're planning on doing it this spring?
So we're asking for a waiver from your ordinance that we can schedule final surface coat to go down on this portion of the subdivision ahead of that 80% requirement, so that going into the winter.
This year?
Huh? Yeah, we want to pave it, we want to pave it this year.
Yeah.
So that we can get that paving down. It's better for the storm sewer, it's better for the residents that are going to be living there, better for your plow trucks because they're not hitting the storm structures as they plow the road. And so we feel that's a reasonable thing. We wouldn't be asking this if it was, all these houses were just started, but, you can see that they're largely done.
By all means.
Yeah, so, we appreciate that. And then, so Beacon West, Unit 5, is similar. And if you wanted to vote on these separately, we're fine with that as well.
Can I say something about Oak Brook really quick?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't necessarily have a problem with it. My only caveat would be that they finished the flat work on these guys before you guys paved. So there's 4 duplex units that don't have driveways right now.
That one and the one.
This one, this one, this one, and this one.
Can they do them at the same time in concert?
I think, I mean, Jack Slager was the one who kind of brought these photos to my attention, and I think he said they were gonna be done in a week or 2.
Yeah.
So my preference, if you do grant that they get that flat work in first, get the concrete trucks off, and then everything else is interior.
Contingency?
Huh?
Contingent?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
That
mean,
seems reasonable.
the perfect world, in 2 weeks, they're done by the next meeting, if we're lucky.
Yeah.
And we-
Yeah, and we'll provide you with an updated photo taken in 2 weeks on Wednesday to show so you can see what's.
Until the construction is complete, then you will maintain the roads too?
Yeah, so we go through performance letter credit, we can't convert from performance into maintenance until we final surface coat. So that's really what we're waiting for, to turn this over to maintenance. So we'll pave it, Don will inspect it, and then probably in November, you will see us here for a request to convert from performance to maintenance. Then you'll have a 3-year maintenance bond covering all of that work, to make sure that it stays looking good.
He still has
For
to
3 years.
inspect it at that time anyway.
Yes, and Don does an inspection, usually there's a punch list that goes along with that.
Beacon West is gonna be a little more complicated.
It's not more complicated, it's just, it's a single-family development as opposed to the, this has got some multifamily product in it. So there's 28 lots, one of them is the barn, so we're requesting that you not include the barn as in that percentage. If you look at that, we're at 77.77%, which is pretty dang close to 80%. And we sure would like to get this road paved, final surface, so that we can, there's people living there. We want them to not have to put up with an unpaved road all winter long. Same types of concerns with plow trucks and, it's just less than ideal not to have the surface.
Hey, on a side note, has there been any movement with Armani on that other street?
I have not talked to him in a while, so.
Nothing?
We are gonna have, he started doing some of his
He's doing some of the concrete punch list work.
Yeah,
Nothing about the road yet, though.
Yeah, slowly but steadily kind of chipping away at some of that stuff, so I got a feeling he's going to try to do something before winter, because if he doesn't, he's got to plow with the whole neighborhood again for the winter, so he's probably gearing up to get to that point before then, I'm sure.
This one's at 70%, is what it's at. 19 divided by 27.
I'd like to see that done.
We're gonna have a lot more concrete trucks in here though, right?
To access the other phases, yeah.
And the 3-year maintenance bond still applies.
Yep.
Yep.
Same thing with
Yeah, for
Oakbrook,
sure.
you still got the old
And that's the
phase 2 in
reason.
the back. I mean,
What was that, Tim?
I said same thing with Oakbrook, you still have phase 2 in the back, every neighborhood is the same. You start in the front and work your way further in, and, as we take over parts of the road, they're still using those roads to get further and further back into the development, so, I mean, it happens constantly, In a perfect world, they put the road in and start all the way in the back and work your way out, but that doesn't work. So.
Oakbrook's going fast, I would say. I mean, they've platted
Yeah,
phase
it's
2
going
and
well,
phase
and
3
I mean-
together, so.
These are the best roads we have in the town. I mean, they're proof rolled and checked and 10 inches of stone. I mean, they're built properly now, so I mean, it's a huge difference from the old days when you just threw down a load of stone and paved over it, these things are checked and tested, and if the stone gets a little bent and it's this deep, they gotta dig it out and redo it. I mean, it's pretty crazy what's being built there for roadways instead of just a wagon trail.
You're okay with both items, correct, other than the concrete and the driveways?
I mean, the lots that aren't built yet in Beacon 5 are a lot further along than Oakbrook. You can see on here, they're essentially all vacant, except 1.5. So there's 6 lots that haven't been built on at all. There's 1 lot you can see right here that's just that foundation, one that's just really kind of more like Oakbrook, just flat work. Then there's 3 open lots out front. So, I mean, I would say there's still 8 plus vacant lots effectively.
Jack said 77.7, you said 70.
We're at 70, 19 divided by 27 if we take the barn out. That's what we're at for occupancy right now.
So you do have a problem with this one?
No, I'm just saying that, I mean, we've issued these waivers in the past, but this one, as far as the lots remaining outside of that 9 or 8,
Oh, we
they're
could,
a lot less further along.
we could not convert it to maintenance until those are built out.
That's,
So it's at 80%, so you.
that's actually most likely where the revised development standards manual is going to go. We're going to, because there is pros and cons to the 80% rule. I'll fully admit that. I mean, it's benefit to the town to keep it in performance so we're not damaging it. But we do also have a stormwater component that's not the best either, because we pond a lot of water against curbs, because it's not quite up there. You got that lip, which isn't good for the road long-term either. So I think that's actually where the new DSM is going to go, is that we will allow them to put the surface down quicker than normal, but it will remain in performance until they hit that 80%. So yeah, that's a way to go.
Is that okay? Yeah, I think that for them, the last thing you really want to do is be trying to pave a road the week before Thanksgiving. You know, it doesn't do anybody any good to pave when it's that cold, you know, but they're going to try because they want to get the project done, so that you're not getting as good of a product long-term. You know, yeah, you got a maintenance fine, but you know, you really want to deal with all that stuff. If you let them pave it, it gets done right. Just seems to be the way to go. You know, if we lived in a different climate and we weren't subject to winter work, you know, maybe the ordinances would make a little bit more sense with their timelines, but we are pretty weather sensitive in this area, so.
I'm good.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it. Anybody else?
I like what you said though. Well,
Yeah.
to convert it.
Yeah, so we'll see.
I'll just hold off on the conversion. We're still covered, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. See you in a couple weeks.
in a couple weeks on that one.
Are you done?
I have one more on the update items, if you want to go to that, that's number 2.
Okay, we'll go to it.
Just
So you go
because I'm
home
showing you
satisfied.
pretty pictures, you know, so.
Update items number 2, Beacon Point East, Unit 1, detention pond update. Seen pictures yesterday, it looks very.
Yeah, so this has been a lengthy process. We've been working with the town, working with town engineer, working with several residents, the developer. I think we've got something here that actually achieves the goals that everybody had in mind. And this is as of today.
This is today?
This is today.
Like this afternoon late?
Yeah, this is like at noon.
Okay.
They took this photo on Monday. It didn't look like this.
No, yeah.
But they're actually seeding and blanketing the side slopes already today and into tomorrow. So got a lot of work done, a little bit of time. They put long days in. I'm sure these guys are happy to see them leave at 7 o'clock at night when they started at 7 o'clock in the morning.
I don't know, are you guys happy back there?
That's good.
Okay, all right, that's progress.
That's a later picture from today.
But it definitely, I mean, this photo really shows kind of the impact that this improvement has made.
Frankly, it looks nicer too.
So.
Well, Mother Nature was very good to you.
Yeah. So,
Well, not for
yeah,
one day.
exactly, because it.
One day was kind of a tough battle. The 1.6 inches.
I was there every day, and
1.6
it couldn't have
inches.
been drying faster.
No, we've been.
Yeah, it was, you know, like if we get rain tomorrow, it's a good thing we got thus far. You can see the laydown of the wet soils there and drying out. That's going to be laid in there and re-landscaped in that front area there. So we should be fully complete in 2 weeks. You guys have said that you're going to pull on the letter of credit if we're not done. You would have to act on that at the next meeting. So you know we've kind of got feet to our fire, which is okay. We're getting this work done, and hopefully you'll be in a favorable mood.
You want us to pull it at the next meeting?
We do not want you to pull it. We want you to say, that looks great. I think, because really this is the only outstanding item on phase 1. The surface coats are already in the roads, we got more than 80%. So you probably will see a request in October to change this from performance to maintenance, which would also cover all of this work here. You know, making sure that grass comes up nice in the spring, and, you know, all that stuff would be covered under that maintenance.
You deepened the pond.
We did, yep.
And when you got it going from the south to the north, how much did that lower the water in the southern portion?
It actually didn't.
Didn't?
It did, yeah. The water elevation is the same.
It's lower now because it equalized.
It did go down.
Like, it's probably 18 inches lower, but when it rains, it'll fill up back to its normal level. It's not much, though. We expect it to go down
okay.
lower.
I see what you're saying.
Mr.
So it went down because we dug a hole and the water filled the hole.
Yeah. You
But
can see it there.
the control
It's the
stayed
same.
up at the elevation, so.
And you've got that fountain in the south end,
Mhm.
and is there any possibility of putting a fountain in the north end? Because I talked to one of the residents, there's an electrical box over there that they could run electric from the electrical box out to another fountain.
Yeah, so we did cover that in our discussion, so that was one of the things that kept coming up. So we're gonna start by moving the existing fountain more to the north, and see if that works. And if it doesn't, then there are mechanisms in the HOA that additional, fountains can get added.
Mr. Chairman?
John, Jim wants to say something.
There's some of the residents that live along there. Do they have any questions or anything about this project? Are you excited?
I was just gonna stand up and thank everybody. Right now, it's amazing. Good job.
We're very happy.
They're gonna talk in public comment.
Okay, I just wanted, before he got down.
Yeah. He's not gonna go anywhere.
But we're gonna update that, so, I'll step down and then they can. But
Okay,
it's, yeah, we're glad everybody's happy. We wanted that one, for sure.
sounds good.
Good, thank you.
All right, update item number 1, Cedar Lake storage. Is that done?
It's getting closer. I've been out there, it's not done, but
Somebody's on
all the
line.
piping is in, they're grading the stone, and they got site services lined up for next week, so. It'll be done by next meeting.
Next week.
When was their deadline?
Which one? To deadline?
A year ago?
The last 45-day deadline, what is that date?
I believe somebody's online if you want to ask questions. One of the porters.
I have no idea what that deadline was, but.
I thought they were supposed to pave it already.
They're online and wanna talk.
Well, my question was, I thought they were supposed to pave it already. Nobody's answering online.
You wanna respond to that?
Yeah, good evening, Chris Porter, 405 North Lafayette Street, Griffin. Just kept working at it. The delay in the drains is what caused us to not get it paved. As soon as they arrived, we got them installed. Just doing a little bit of final grading. I spoke with site services at the beginning of this week, and he said, yeah, they could line us up for next week.
Well, I thought it was already lined up for like a week ago.
We're not gonna do anything anyway if they're gonna do it next week.
So I can make
Gotta
them
find
feel miserable.
Yeah, it's gonna be done next week.
Please don't do us. All right, get it done next week, and we'll be happy.
Mr. Porter, what was the deadline that Mr. Parker proposed, 45 days? How far past that are we?
I would have to go back and look at dates. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm good at it.
And none of us are either.
I'm glad it's gonna be done.
Somewhere around August 15th or something.
The
All right,
goal is to get it done.
Just get her done next week, and we'll be happy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, Rose Garden Estates, Unit 1.
Any response from them?
Same old, we're working on it. I mean, that one's gonna have to, they're gonna have to post that again, probably for the same 6 months that you recommended. I think phase 2 got posted for. She'll put it in
Are they asking for
April.
6 months at a time?
No, they're asking for, they've submitted years.
The last time they asked for a
We
year.
said 6 months.
You guys
That
said
we're
6
done
months.
with the nonsense, we're gonna give you 6 months.
We are done with the nonsense. I don't know what it's gonna take to get their attention.
So, I mean, I'll have
We're gonna
Kirsten.
figure it out in 6 months.
Yeah, Kirsten was dealing with them, so I'll have her basically tell them they need to submit a 6-month extension, that's all they're gonna get.
will keep their $6 million.
You might want to tell them next time you talk to them, we're not joking.
I know, I will.
Tell them we need $6 million.
Okay, then the Cedar Lake Storage PLC expires October 20th, 2024, but you should be done by then.
Are you, this one, I'm guessing will not have a maintenance period on it, because this is the private improvements? Am I correct in that assumption?
I would think so.
I would too.
Okay. As long as it's done, and building department signs off on it, we're good?
Yep.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. Austin, can we ask for a representative from Rose Garden to come to a meeting?
You can, you should.
How do we do that?
They have a manager or rep in the area, probably do it through Cleve.
I'll have Todd or their field guy.
Yeah, Todd Cleve.
You'll take care of that? I'd like to see them at the next work session.
Okay.
We need a human body in front of us for that.
Work session or?
It's been, I think, years since we've seen anyone from there.
Yeah, long time.
Thank you.
Okay, end of, update, public comment. Any public comment?
Bob Grosek, one happy homeowner at 14055 Theodore Street.
I love that, Jeff. What a great beginning. Tell us more.
Beacon Point East. Beacon Point East. I just want to, on behalf of the people involved at Beacon Point, we would all like to thank this board. Some of you heard this last night, for being diligent and trying to help us get this issue with the drainage fixed. We're all real happy. When they started, I went, oh my God, what did we get ourselves into? And it just morphed into something that is, wow, and that's all I can say at this point. We also want to thank Schilling Development, which we did last night too on the thing, to help expedite this thing. They were supposed to actually start Tuesday, is what we were told. And here it's Wednesday, and they're almost done. They started last week. I want to thank Don Oliphant for the time spent. I want to thank Jack Halls from DVG. Secondly, I have another thing I brought it up at the issue last night about Bugaboos. You can pull up a map. It's very, very, very unsafe. You're talking about sidewalks and bank shops. It's a very unsafe thing here. And Bugaboos right by that, where they throw bags, where the L is, you can zoom in, not over down.
On the lakeside.
Right there. They are parking cars, 3 on this side of where it says 100, they're parking cars right there. You go there tonight when they're doing bags, because I leave here and I drive home there. I do 20 miles an hour. Even though it's 25, I can actually do 15, because they have a walkway. Did you see the lines going through there, and somebody's in, you cannot see anyone in that walkway because the car is just before it, and 2 cars are parked past it. It states right on their fence there, parking for Bugaboo customers only. Somebody's going to get hurt there. That's way too close. If someone opens a car door and they don't see you coming, if you're doing 15, 20, 25, or 30, you're going to tear it off. That's how close to the road it is.
I think last night when you brought this up, Tim said that he was gonna get some stop.
Yeah, and we
no
called
parking
in
signs.
locates this morning for that stretch, and we have 48 hours to wait for locates, but by the end of that time, you will not have any doubt that there's not going to be parking allowed.
Okay, I just wanted to bring it up for safety purposes.
I wanted to
Okay.
council last night, and I
Okay.
heard you last night also.
Yeah.
Has anybody talked to him? Rich, you talked to him? Tom Frick, about that easement?
Just briefly, a couple weeks ago, but nothing since then.
Okay.
Jeff was talking to him, I don't know if he knows, if he's online.
Jeff, you online still?
I am.
Have we heard anything from Frick on that easement?
We have not. I tried, let's see, today's Wednesday. I think I called him Friday of last week and left him a voicemail.
but, he has not yet responded.
Okay. Just curious.
Well, he's scheduled to be at the meeting in 2 weeks, right, Rich?
Yes.
So,
Okay, I mean, I'm just for safety purposes, that's all.
we're talking about two different things.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that, and Bob's been bringing that up, and I've noticed that a lot of people have, so, yeah.
You can, and especially at night, you can't see.
Yeah,
You really
well,
can't.
Tim's taking care of it, so.
Thank you, and thanks
You're
again
welcome.
for all your help with the pond and drainage. Each and every one of you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Heather, Rick came here for a public safety board meeting thinking it was unsafe.
I would find that hard to believe, but okay.
Mr.,
Hi, Andrew.
let me,
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Halls,
Jack?
would you thank Mr. Schlager and Mr. Schilling on behalf of the Plan Commission for getting that taken care of as well?
I will do that.
We appreciate
Thank you.
their cooperation.
Ditto.
Okay.
Angie Michaelajczyk, 12806 Lee Court. Tonight, this board discussed with a business owner a request for no sidewalks to that leading to nowhere not be required due to utility placement. So my question is, where would a residential property owner be directed to also request a sidewalk leading to nowhere not be required due to a utility placement?
I don't believe that's how that was said today, the leading to nowhere part. I don't remember anyone saying that.
I think they said it.
He said it.
No, the engineer said it.
I guess I need more information.
Oh, okay. Well, I sent an email regarding this, and I've talked a lot about it, but I have a sidewalk in the front of my property that leads into a drain, which is a utility, that I would like removed. It shouldn't probably have been there. So I
Isn't
just...
that the broken one?
Yes, that's a broken one.
Excuse me a minute. Tim said he was doing some work over there and he couldn't remove it for you, but if you had it broken up, he would take the pieces away.
The opposite.
Tim, I was out there and I explained to Angie that since the situation on the other side of the cul-de-sac is the same as hers, that those two pieces could be removed and not have to put back because,
Okay.
again, it's going down a steep hill into a catch basin, doesn't need, at the end of the day, on paper it may look good, but in real life, doesn't need to be there. I then went on to say that if we were raising the catch basin, she was gonna, at the time of our discussion, she was gonna call when she got her rocks moved and everything around the catch basin, and I told her when we had the machine out there, we could tap the sidewalk a couple times, bust it up so it's easier to move for sure. She said she would reuse it on the hillside or whatever. She said she could, if it was broke up, she could deal with it, but in the meantime, after that conversation, the next day or two, she got with Jeff and about the same thing, that the basin hasn't been raised up, and she called and
No, the
it became
basin's
an
been raised.
emergency. The boys went over there the next day, raised the manhole up, got it taken care of, and the whole, I didn't even know they did it because it was kind of the next, it was within,
Yeah, they
I don't know, it was a
raised-
short period of time after our first conversation. She said she just had surgery on her neck. It might take her a week or a month to get the stuff moved. I
It was-
said, no hurry, whenever you're ready, we'll do it. And then it happened 2 days later. I just offered while we had the machine out there, we busted up a little bit to make it easier for her to remove, but at the end of the day, they were there. I don't know what happened. I don't know what took place when they raised up the
Well,
manhole.
I
She
appreciate
didn't
that,
ask,
Mr.
or
Kubiak.
I
No,
don't-
everything you said is accurate. I mean, there was a little bit weird stuff, but, and I do appreciate you offering to possibly crack it up. But my issue is that I've been the stormwater board, and I was asking, because it's a dangerous situation, so we could figure out what to do, if I should put some danger tape or something on the sidewalk, and they said whatever I saw fit. Well, our sidewalk's not very big, so we had the rear tires of our Jeep blocking the sidewalk, and then I got a warning from the police department for blocking the sidewalk that led to nowhere. So my concern about it is if we take it out, is the police department gonna, or the code enforcement gonna come and say, you don't have a sidewalk there and there's supposed to be one there? That's my fear.
Who gave you the warning? Was it code enforcement or police department?
On July 29th, the police officer came to our door, and said that they had got a complaint, and it was from the builder that lives two doors down.
Was it the code enforcement officer, though?
No, it was a police officer.
Okay, the police
And the police officer came to our door and said that, we got this petty issue. And, then the next morning, so I think it was like 4 o'clock, so like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, code enforcement officer was out. And, I came to the police department to ask what was going on, and they said, well, you got a warning coming in the mail, and we got a written warning in the mail saying that we were blocking the sidewalk.
The sidewalk that goes to nowhere?
Yes, sir.
It's only 2 pieces to it.
Yes, and, yes.
Dave, at the risk of overstepping my bounds again, can you look into this and get me details through the police department, please?
If I may, I called Mr. Bungie right away because I was upset. I think he's online. And we discussed it. I was out of town at the time. I asked him if we could revisit it, and we come back. And he didn't come in the stormwater board meeting because it was like the day after I returned, so I didn't get a chance to talk to him. But I did email him 14 days ago on August 22nd. I emailed him, the town manager, the ward representative, Mr. Carnahan, you, and also Nick Kubiak, president for town council, and carbon copy town attorney, asking about the status. There were several other things in the email, but my last statement was, what's the status? And I didn't even get a response that acknowledged my email.
Okay.
So that's where we're at, and...
I'm gonna find out what happened there.
Jeff was in another meeting while he wasn't at.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm trying to be patient, but the thing is, the issue came up tonight with a sidewalk for a business owner saying, oh, you know what, there's utilities there, we'll consider it, it makes sense. Well, with a resident, why does it not make sense to me? Why do I have to go through all this hoopla?
Well, it's certain, and Tim already said, the thing doesn't need to be there. When you
Yes.
get an opportunity, would you please bust it up? So, I mean, as soon as you can.
What's
And,
the plan after we bust it up?
well, do you want the pieces, or do you want him to take the pieces?
He can leave. I told him I could keep my word, I could repurpose them somewhere.
If you don't mind, bust it up so we
But
can get it out.
I wanna make sure
Whose responsibility is that sidewalk?
Ours.
Hers.
Is it hers?
Yeah, it's a property.
Then we shouldn't have anything to do with
No.
sending our people over there to bust it up or do anything with it.
We don't own the sidewalks over there?
We don't own any sidewalks. Everybody's required to plow, to shovel and maintain.
Bob, it's a double-edged sword. It's more than the sidewalk. We've got easements for utilities in there also. So the sidewalk, utility easements, all play a role, and they have to be looked at on the plat exactly like that. We've looked at this, and the sidewalk is inside easements that we are using.
And there's a steep drop-off at the end of the sidewalk.
I have a photo.
It's a public sidewalk that the homeowners are in charge of maintaining and taking care of, basically, according to the ordinance. I mean, every sidewalk in town.
I'm sorry, I couldn't find that ordinance, what you're talking about. The ordinance I did find that said it was a town engineer or a city person that was responsible for repairing the sidewalks. I found that ordinance, 90.4, I think it was. I brought that up in the stormwater board, and then Mr. Oliphant said, oh, no, that's from construction. But if it wasn't done during construction, okay, so yeah, I'm getting the turn, or, I just don't know where to turn, and I would like to know, who do I ask? Because I don't want code enforcement coming and giving me a ticket saying I removed the sidewalk. Because now this is on like a legal record.
That's gonna get resolved.
No, it's not.
It's a public.
This is a civil matter. You're not in any
Like it.
Okay.
law.
What if I would've got a ticket?
They're supposed to shovel all that
It's
snow.
still not, it's only public hearing.
Okay. Thank you.
We're dealing with that.
Okay.
May I suggest that you all look at the plat of this subdivision? I'm sorry, that you all look at the plat of this subdivision and see how that cul-de-sac is developed and what the easement markings are. That'll tell you why we are responsible.
In the interest of public safety, we have a sidewalk that goes into a drop-off and a manhole. If you're walking that sidewalk in the dark and you don't know that it ends, that is a safety hazard.
There's no question about it, somebody could fall in there and there could be a problem.
For that reason alone, and no other, let's just get it out of there. At least then you have a warning when you walk up the edge of the sidewalk, that the sidewalk isn't there, and you don't fall into the catch basin for the manhole, which I can't believe that we're continuing
Did you see it online?
to deal with these types of
Probably
things.
can't see my tree.
Well, you've seen the can of worms that is out there, which we call public sidewalks in every neighborhood.
Oh, I know, I know, we've put sidewalks in some, Tim,
No, but I'm just saying that,
you're never gonna get me to say that we haven't done stupid things around here. I see stupid things every time I drive around.
but I'm just saying the amount of public sidewalk repair, replacement, some communities have 50-50 deals where they split it with the homeowner, some have a budget where they grind some, I mean, I've looked into this several times, but we have, a lot of issues that are way, that are just crazy, but like you see on the screen, the neighbor across the street sidewalk stops at this side at the south side, or I don't even know which way that's facing, but at the driveway, you go to the driveway, goes off the hill to nowhere, so she's talking about this little section right here, those two panels. So if she does, those are gone, essentially this is a manhole downhill into the woods, so at the same time, it would be a sidewalk to the, to her driveway and out to the road, just like on the other side of the street. Makes perfect sense,
Yeah.
no problems.
Would my sidewalk end?
So you still could be blocking the sidewalk if you park there.
Correct.
Does that make sense? It's not a through sidewalk.
Well, it's 30-year driveway.
It absolutely doesn't
Just like the
make
one
sense.
across the street.
And I assure you that is going to get resolved.
What's gonna get resolved?
Dave's gonna work on it.
What's he gonna work on?
Why you got a warning ticket for blocking that sidewalk?
Well, Mr. Bundy explained it to me, he said he saw both sides. Well, there's other stuff going on, which I know you know. So that's saying I can't-
And there's other stuff going on that
I
you
know,
don't.
I don't know exactly. Yes, sir.
It's gonna get resolved.
So I can't park the Jeep in the driveway?
What is there to resolve? She got a warning ticket, did it cost you anything?
No, it was a warning.
Okay, it's a warning, so now she's aware that she can't block the sidewalk or the walkway, there's nothing to resolve.
Well,
Well, I was told to block
in
it.
theory, John, there is, and I'm just gonna say it. And Dave and I have had a conversation about it, Rich and I have had a conversation about it. Using some of these things as a sword for our residents, and that's
Thank
exactly
you.
what it is.
Thank you.
Am I speaking out of turn? Tell me if I am.
I think that's verbatim what you said when we last talked about it.
And that's gonna stop, and it's gonna stop quickly, like a plane
I don't
crash.
understand what you're saying.
Somebody came from Crown Point to call to report the rear of my Jeep tires in my driveway. And it was, the contractor that built the sidewalk.
Oh,
That's who called.
well, that's being worked on?
Yes,
The whole issue is being worked on, not just
yes, sir,
because of you?
yes. So, I don't need a sidewalk there?
No.
And I won't get a thing from code enforcement saying that I
If
took
you
it out?
get another one, I want you to call me immediately.
Well, it sounds like Tim's gonna go take the sidewalk away, or break it up anyway, so this is a non-issue anymore, correct, Tim? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what these guys want, yes.
Is that what you guys want?
Yeah.
Is that okay with Mr. Bungie?
I say no.
I'll talk to Jeff tomorrow about it.
John, I've litigated trip and falls on municipal sidewalks. This sidewalk has to come out for safety purposes. I've been down there, every one of you have been down there.
I've had 12 people from the
Seeing this
town
crumbled
be at my house.
sidewalk, it is screaming for liability.
Someone could break their neck there.
So if she put a sidewalk ends sign on the south side of her driveway, then she can't get in trouble for blocking the sidewalk, because there is no sidewalk.
There is no sidewalk.
Okay, well, this is a common sense, according to everybody, everybody sees what's going on. I've been dealing with this, what, for 12 weeks, if not more?
I assure you, it's gonna get resolved. Mr. Becker, is it gonna get resolved? Yes. Mr. Teal, is it gonna get resolved? Yes. Mr. Carney, is it gonna get
Yes.
resolved?
There's
It's gonna
four.
get resolved.
Thank you.
Mary Jones there too.
All right.
Mary Jones?
So if I get something from the code enforcement, just,
You have our numbers.
I don't have your, oh yeah, I do have your number.
Just
All right,
gonna get-
just call.
It's gonna get resolved.
Okay. Thank
Is
you.
that it?
Yeah, that was it. I just wanted to
Do we have any
know,
other public comment?
because I tried here before and you said this wasn't the right place.
I got one thing that's not necessarily public comment, but, in light of last night's deal with the house built close to a property line over on Huseman, I would like the plan commission, I mean, I've been thinking about this, I got some surveys that show that the surveyor basically had the house laid out improperly on the property, but I would like to move towards us requesting that all of these variants that are given for minimal side yards through the BZA, that an as-built foundation survey is required.
I would like to go further than that, Ted. And I don't disagree with you, that's one way to handle it, but Dave and I talked about this briefly earlier. In an effort to not have these things happening in the future, I think we need to, the BZA needs to understand that somebody wanting to build a house, a giant house on a small lot is not a hardship. And we need to stop. The houses need to fit the lots. That way we don't have this going in the future, because there are situations that are upcoming that are gonna be screaming for this same thing to happen again, and you're gonna be over there pulling your hair out, or we're gonna have to have 19 variances to get it done. Building a giant house on a 50-foot or 75-foot lot, just because it's lakefront, is not a hardship. Building a house on the size lot that the lot will accept is the logical thing to do. Going forward, that's what needs to happen.
You're absolutely right, but little pieces, what you're suggesting is exactly what needs to be, what needs to be
100% if
done.
somebody comes for a variance for a 5-foot side yard, then the burden is on that person building that house with a 5-foot side yard to provide a as-built survey showing that that foundation was put in with a 5-foot side yard before they pass that point of the project and keep moving forward. So there is no more of this, like, you know, the house is completely done and it's wrong, and it's a simple update to our requirements. I mean, we require an as-built.
I'm okay with that getting added.
It would just.
But again, Tim, you run the BZA for a long, that's not a hardship. Somebody wants to build a giant house on an itty-bitty lot, that's not a hardship.
And I mean, I agree that some situations are different than others. I mean, I don't know, I mean, this particular house is not superly oversized for the lot, and there was 11 feet on the other side to be able to have access to the lake, which, at the end of the day, the house fits on the property without the variance, except for you didn't have any way to get down to the lake, which probably, I mean, it's not, but I guess what I'm saying is it's not completely oversized for the lot. It would have fit with an 8-foot side yard on each side, because you had 11 feet on the.
Didn't they get a 5-foot variance, but they went 7 foot?
No, they had a 5-foot variance, but it ended up only being 2.3 feet or 2.7 feet because of the survey was not right. But at the end of the day, what I'm proposing, after what I found out today, wouldn't have mattered, because if the same surveyor would have did the as-built that staked out the house, it would have showed that it had a 5-foot setback, essentially. But this would just give us as I mean, I feel like, you know, we're putting this burden on us as inspectors to verify, you know, a 2-foot side yard or a 3, whatever the case is. This would put that burden on the person doing the project to show us that, hey, we got a surveyor showing us that this is.
My problem is, and I've seen this repeatedly, people come in and want to do something on a small lot, and they don't give a damn about their neighbors. And it basically almost becomes an encumbrance.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that make perfect sense, that work out perfect, and there's a lot of things that are exactly what you're saying. So I mean, I guess what you're saying is there's no need ever for a BZA, but at the end of the day, there's always circumstances that.
So what little piece, Mr. Austin, needs to be tweaked as far as language?
The custom and practices of the BZA in considering petitions before them. We have our rules and regs for the BZA, for the Plan Commission, and if we upgrade or clarify or describe or identify in some fashion in those rules and regs the policy and practices of Cedar Lake and its boards.
Okay, but can't the Planning Commission create a requirement for an as-built foundation?
Well, you can, of course.
Okay,
Of course,
all right,
you can.
and that's
In the plan process and in the BZA process or
Yeah, and that's what I think Tim is suggesting, and instead of talking about this forever, does anybody have a problem with Tim's suggestion?
I don't.
No.
Nope.
Then I think,
I just think the parameters need to be laid out for the BZA, what the definition of a hardship is.
Parameters are laid out for the BZA. You're insulting the BZA right now.
I am not. I am not. John.
Be quiet, I'm talking. You do that all the time. You interrupt because you gotta say something. When we look at this stuff at the BZA, we have criteria we follow, and if they don't have a difficulty involved, we don't grant the variance.
John, I'm only, and because this is going to be coming again soon, because people try to manipulate things, and it's happening as I speak. People try to manipulate these things, particularly with lakefront property, to get a giant house on a postage stamp lot. It's not a hardship when that happens. I'm not insulting the BZA. This happened way back in 2016.
And I was on it in 2016.
Well, again, John, the mistake was made by the surveyor, but the variance should not have been granted just because of the size of the damn house. That's not what should happen.
I don't remember the situation, so I can't comment on it.
I'm not trying to insult anybody that sits on the BZA. I'm just talking about how we eliminate this type of thing going forward, particularly on lakefront property. That's my opinion.
Tim, so I can have a whole picture. I know what house it is. I think I know the issue. They asked for a 5-foot setback and they took a 2-foot setback. Is that what happened?
Well, what happened is that they asked for a 5-foot setback. The site plan and everything that was presented in 2015 showed a 5-foot setback. The house was staked out with a 5-foot setback, but today's current as-built that was done on the house shows that there was a stake in the backyard that was not proper, that the surveyor used, and according to that stake, it has a 5-foot setback. According to the new survey, it only has a 2'3" setback in the back corner, so.
Okay, and I understand that the landscaping portion is definitely in the other person's.
It's not.
It's not.
It's right on the line, but it's not in the other person. There's a fire pit down by the lake.
Right, that's what I mean.
That is correct. That is into the neighbor's property.
So
they're removing that, right, or something?
Yeah, they were working on moving it.
So does anybody have an issue with Mr. Austin making the modifications in the language?
Absolutely not.
I think any checks and balances we can have, the more eyes on it, the better.
Okay. Dave, you good with that?
I am.
Okay.
For the record, I'm not insulting the BZA. I just want everybody to have a clear understanding of what a hardship is.
I feel like we've talked about the hardships for the BZA for years. I feel like that's been clear for a long time.
Well,
when was this house built?
2015 or 16.
The word stakes, when it comes to that property, I have to laugh about it. Tim knows the backstory.
John, if I may, hardship is all over the case law. It's all over it. The only thing that ever gets litigated in developmental variance and use variance matters is the hardship, because it's so amorphous. It's kind of an eye of the beholder comparison against what the community has done and approved in the past. It addresses self-made emergencies or hardships, but there's a tremendous amount of case law that individualizes each one. The reason the BZA exists is exactly for that reason, to adjudicate all of that, not ambiguity, but what can't be said, but can be seen. So we do not really want to get into business of trying to define something that a lot of other courts and jurisdictions have done, and just exercise consistency here in Cedar Lake with what we've done for decades and how it works. A little more attention to certain elements maybe, if that's your desire and that's the direction that the community is taking this, that's fine. In fact, it's perfect. But that gives the flexibility and gives the judge-like powers. In fact, it validates that you are quasi-judicial officers under the Indiana Code.
I think we also have to keep in mind, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's why you're here. It's exactly why you're here.
We also have to keep in mind this is an incredibly unique community. So I don't really feel like anything here can be black and white. A lot of it has to be up to judgment. I mean, I believe I've got a setback variance for my home that I built, but there's a story to it because my neighbor built on my property line. So there's more to just,
You don't say.
I mean, he built on my property, so.
Who did the survey?
I had somebody come in here a while back,
There's
and
always
right on the
something.
property line, didn't have permission to build on the property line.
Well, they were both before me, so I was just left with what they left with. But that's what I'm saying, this community in particular has a lot of.
So Tim's
gray area.
suggestion would squash all that.
I think it's great.
That way, we don't have to go through with this. I mean, unfortunately, this wouldn't have changed because it was staked. It was built to the way it was staked, and it would have been as built to the way it was staked. I still don't know if survey from 2016 or the survey that was just done in 2024. I don't know which one's the right one, because I'm not a surveyor.
What'd you say was on the other side of this house, just for educational purposes, 11 feet or 16 feet?
11.
And that's so that they could get a truck or something
down
down
to
the
the
side
lake
of
because
it?
of that hill.
That's also not on it, Jim.
I think that was I don't know if that was the whole reason. I mean, it was a long time ago.
Well,
I was probably on BZA also.
We're gonna see in the future.
That could've got shifted by anybody.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Surveyor's gone, you're not there.
yeah, you never, I mean.
Are you suggesting stakes could have been moved in the dark of night?
I'm just saying homeowners are likely to do anything to get
Yeah, I'm not
things to fit on the ground.
That 11 foot on the side has a story, and we're gonna see that in the future.
Yeah, we don't know we don't know the whole story, but.
Well, we don't, but we have paper that shows certification of location and corner markings and the like.
And I have pictures that show 5-foot setbacks from where it was staked out in 2016, so.
That's all I had to go by.
All right, well, Dave's gonna put some language in there for us to do it correctly at the BZA, so we don't run into any of these problems in the future, hopefully.
It'll be here though, too, right?
John, there'll always be problems.
Well, I think
You
that,
have land, you have people, you have problems.
I would think that the plan commission has to approve the language of the as-built requirements, or no?
No, this is gonna be an amendment to the zoning ordinance.
And we make a recommendation to the town council.
Correct, it'll be a
Yeah.
public hearing.
Right, but these guys need to approve the plan commission.
No, it'll be an amendment to the zoning ordinance, text provisions.
Which we'll recommend to the town council.
Correct, and the town council adopts ordinances.
So after you draw that up, Dave, it'll be in front of us?
It will, we'll get it over here soon.
Thank you.
Quickly.
Good call, Tim, thanks.
Okay, let's move on. Shoot it.
So to understand, this isn't the first time this happened.
Well, it's happened repeatedly.
Have you driven around Cedar Lake, sir?
Every day. First of all, I'll open up by saying Terry Waters, 145, 13 Morris. I would like to say thank you, because we're making progress. Tim had a great suggestion, and what a way to solidify this not happening again, getting 4 corners posted after it's set, without building a whole house to find out it's on the property line. Gee, that would really save everybody a lot of headache. But I did come up here with one serious question, and I'm just a little bit confused, and I know you guys will have this answer. You guys talked about the parameters of hardship, and this, that, and the other, of who's doing what and approving what. And I'm a little confused, and I was hoping that you guys could clarify, because I know sometimes some votes are made with your authority, and then others are recommendations to the town council. So my question is, when these variances come before you, are you voting yes and it's permanent, or do you vote yes and it goes to town council with a rating of?
Are you talking about plan commission or BZA?
I guess both, sir.
BZA can always be overridden by the town council.
There's only 2 counties in the state of Indiana where that happens. That's in Lake County and St. Joe County. The other 90 counties, the final say is at the BZA.
So if we could get back to the question, the BZA is the final decision on the variance here in Cedar Lake?
No.
The town council makes the final decision.
Depending on what it is.
Recommendation of the BZA.
Depending on what it is.
There's 2 different categories, Terry, for that.
One of them is the variance of use, and the other one is which, Dave?
Developmental variance.
Developmental variance.
Okay, who approves what? If we could just get this clear tonight, who approves what?
It's in the books. Developmental variances are in the exclusive jurisdiction of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Variances of use are advisory. Public hearings are held before the BZA with that application. Certification is made of the recommendation by the BZA to the town council. Town council makes the decision.
The final decision. Thank you for that, Dave. So that does answer the question. Because we talked about hardship tonight, and the hardships are presented to you, the BZA.
This is the planning commission.
I'm sorry, planning commission. But also hardship also go to BZA too, once they get, if it doesn't go through here and they get to that, they're still looking for a hardship.
Decides whether it's a hardship.
Well, going back to my question, if people come before the planning commission and we talked about the hardship, we have to prove a hardship, for example. If it's discussed here in the planning commission, you guys can vote 7-0 in favor or 7-0 against, but you're still not making that decision. You're kicking it up to the town council to make that decision on that particular item, correct? So the hardship is only explained here, but yet you guys aren't really truly making the decision on that hardship and granting the permission for that variance to build.
Hardships don't come into play here.
Only the BZA.
The BZA, there's a form that has to be filled out, there's 4 or 6 questions, depending on what you're going for. And you have to list why you want that, what your difficulty is or your hardship is to grant that.
Findings of fact. And so,
Finding the
once if I, at this board, you guys don't make any decisions, you just kick it up to the town council.
Not true.
And then at the
depends on if
BZA,
it's developmental.
it could go both ways.
If here, it's developmental variance or a variance of use. Sorry. Yeah. That's here. One of them we make a recommendation, kick it upstairs. The other one we make it here.
Okay, the one you make here is?
Developmental variance.
Developmental variance.
Okay, and the other one you kick up?
Make a recommendation, yes. Now, the word hardship, that adjective could be considered for the waivers that we heard tonight.
Yes, that's my point.
So that word hardship always appears in BZA. Here, it's called a waiver. Is it kind of the same thing? It is kind of the same thing.
Okay, and that does answer your question, but boy, that took a long, big circle to get to that answer. Maybe that's the problem.
I think once you have the paperwork in front of you, it'll make perfect sense.
Any other public
It
comment?
really should make perfect sense. We shouldn't build on
Any other
the property line.
public
We could go on and on, Jerry.
I have 2 things, please.
Dave's got some things, John.
Hey, I'm looking at them.
I didn't know you heard them.
Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I want to go back to the item we talked about, safe storage, where you talked about and Mr. Sage talked to us respectfully about our completion of our work and responsibilities. My responsibility to you and to this town is to make sure things are right. You received a proposed, and it was to me, a proposed written commitment 2 weeks ago or thereabouts from the petitioner that outlined what they wanted, what they proposed, and what would be commitment conditions to an approval for them of their plat and site plan approval. That was talked about certainly at the last meeting. Several days later, August 26th, Mr. Sage is absolutely right. I received an email from his attorney with a revised proposed written commitment. I didn't look at it until then. I didn't look at it at all because dialogue is shifting, there's discussion going on. It's a negotiation form of commitment or a term of an approval process. Now that this discussion has neared its completion, I took this document and I cleaned it up in the red ink that I ran out of almost. And it's coming to you for that review. So I want you to know the process for me is that this document is a recordable instrument that contains terms and conditions that are satisfactorily clear, unambiguous, and enforceable. At some point, it may be needed. If it is never needed, then the paper has been done and it's a recordable instrument. Everything will go happily forward. If it isn't, that's what I'm preparing you for, and the town protects. So they will get this. I will make certain you have it also simultaneously. And the time period it takes is the time period it takes. It's a negotiation form of discussion, not necessarily their presentation of, here's what we said in the meeting, it's now the deal. I don't hardly think so. I think, in fact, there's still engineering still being discussed. I saw a letter reported on Oliphant on this on my desk this week. So it's a process. Can it get done? To your question, Heather, can it get done? Absolutely. But it might not. And it might not because there's snag, there's comment, there's negotiated terms, there's lack of agreement on something. But it needs to be an agreement for those purposes: clarity, ambiguity, loss, and enforcement. So I wanted you to know that. Second thing, the trip to Indianapolis is an important trip in the annals of Cedar Lake Utilities that is coming up, being scheduled, and for our purposes in reviewing with IDEM where we stand. It's not the panacea and it's not the solution. It's first steps on a journey. And we do not want to overstate what we're doing. We want to understate that we have work to do and we have to dig. This is consistent with the vision the town council had early this year when we don't know what the heck we've been left with occurred, that aha moment. And it needed to be developed and the town needed to be slowed, stopped, and put in a containment for purposes of the discovery and the journey that tells us where we're at, what we need to begin doing, and the path we need to take to get there. The last time we had that type of situation here in this town in the mid-1990s with the sewer utility, that's exactly what happened. I could almost script it, what's coming next. And it will include a lot of discussions with our engineers, with the IDEM staff assigned, and with our own work activities about what we have, what we need to do, and where we need to go to get it done. It's a big journey coming, but in the 1990s, we got through it. And we came out of that recovered, and we will again. But my point, it's not the panacea, it's the beginning. So, I know that there are developers and property owners and land developers that are looking at this, but we have to look at it also. And want to make sure that understanding on the record. Councilman or President, maybe they want to add something.
Well, I don't know that anybody proposed to understate the situation, but I don't think any of us have a clear understanding of, I know we certainly know that we need expansion and storage and upgrades to the water utility on both sides of town. We don't know what IDEM is going to require of us at this point until we have the conversations down there.
And going back to when you were talking when we were under an agreed order, we had to get approval from IDEM to have taps to build houses. And Lowell and Cedar Lake both got fines, and I asked them, well, why don't you let us use those fines to repair the stuff we need to do? No, you can't do that.
We did negotiate an environmental plan and project, and they did allow a portion of the fine imposed, there was a fine. They allowed a portion of that to be deposited into projects that were remedial in nature related to the violations of our NPDES permit. So we did get to put some of it back into our system, Bob, you're right. That's how they negotiated it with us.
And then I got into a little argument with them, and they said, if you don't do what we say, we can put you in jail.
You're not going to IDEM.
Leave Bob here. I don't like government.
For 39 years, he
You
doesn't
don't
like
say,
government.
you don't say. Rick, you need to buy that man a drink.
I sure as hell don't like it.
Thank you, I want to make those couple points. I
Okay.
appreciate it, John.
Do we have any other comments? Seeing none, we're adjourned.